We'll start with something simple. Where did your love of climbing begin?
I grew up in Wales in the UK and was always very much fond of being in the mountains and being on the coast and being on the sea. And I got into climbing in the 1980s in Wales. And it's an amazing area for climbing, North Wales, the Snowdonia National Park and all the coastline around there. And there's a great climbing culture in the UK. It's predominantly starts with traditional climbing, but it's also, during the 80s, it moved on to sport climbing and bouldering and mountaineering, ice climbing. Everything gets thrown into the mix. And there are other regions close by that are world famous, like the Peak District National Park, where the Gritstone is, the Lake District. It's a very rocky country, really, the UK. So growing up in Wales was great, and climbing over there was amazing.
What brought you to Australia?
I moved to Australia in 2002, predominantly for career reasons, because I had two little kids. They were little toddlers at the time, and I thought Australia would be a good place, have a stronger career, bring up kids, and also wanting to explore the world more. So I'd seen a lot of Europe, and it gave me an opportunity to see more of the other side of the world. I did, before I took the decision to move my family over here, I did visit the Grampians and Arapiles to try out the climbing, just to see if it was good as the magazines said it was. And that was the days, the last sort of turn of the millennium was magazines. We didn't really have so much then online, but photographs of Arapiles and the Grampians were regularly in the UK and European magazines, and it looked great. And I came over here, sampled it, and thought, yeah, it is great. It is awesome. I can move over there. I can go and live in Australia and have a whole new climbing playground to go at.
Do you think you would have come to Australia if the climbing wasn't as good as you expected?
No, I wouldn't have come to Australia if the climbing had been a poorer quality. I don't think I'd have moved to Australia for anything less than the Grampians and Arapiles. I wouldn't have moved to Australia for another state. The Grampians and Arapiles have a quality that's unmatched, I think, in Australia, and it's even got worldwide significance.
Do you remember your first climb here in Australia?
I do, yes. I was on my exploratory trip to the Grampians, and I went straight up to Taipan Wall on my own to check it out and thought, yep, that looks really good, but the sun goes around the other way. I get it, yep, I understand. I was orientation. And then at Taipan Wall, I met Mike Law, who was very friendly, and he took me on a little trip around showing me things, and we went to Summerday Valley just to do a climb at the end of the day because it was late in the day. And he pointed me up a climb called Soweto, which is 21 at Summerday Valley. And that was my first Australian climb, Soweto. We did a few more climbs at Summerday Valley in an evening, as you can, because it's such an easy and convenient place. You could do 5 climbs in a few hours there. And the next day I went to Arapiles and climbed there, and went back home to Wales and said to my wife and kids, come on, we're leaving. We're going to get a job over there.
Are there any climbing locations that are really special to you?
Taipan Wall. I mean, Taipan Wall, that is deep in your heart. Every experience you've had there is etched into your brain. You love the place. Absolutely love the place. I mean, someone tells you that it's sacred to someone else and you're not allowed to go there, that's ripping your heart out. Same with places for me, like Mewline, for instance, Mewline Crag in the Victoria Range. I've got a painting of it on my wall over there. It's just incredible. When you go there, you feel like you're in the one place in the world that you want to be. It's not just about climbing rocks, it's you sit there and you absorb it all, the trees, the birds, the sounds, the smells, the feelings that you've had with all the times you've been there, the way that you've been challenged, the way that you've had experiences with friends that are unmatched in anything else you've ever done.
Why was ACAV originally created?
ACAV came about in 2019 when Parks Victoria suddenly decided that they were going to put heavy restrictions on climbing in the Grampians. And obviously all the keen climbers who regularly go to the Grampians were up in arms online and on chat groups going, oh, what are we going to do about this? And the plan was to get a climbing organisation to do something about this, to resist what was being done, because anyone who's climbed internationally will know that this is unprecedented. Nobody in the world bans climbing on such a scale. And I became aware, I'd been aware for a while, that there was a group in Queensland that called the Australian Climbing Association Queensland, ACAQ. And they'd had at least a decade of experience of opposing climbing restrictions on a more political level. So the Victorian Climbing Club is fundamentally what it sounds. It's a club for climbers, a social group. They do guidebooks, they do training, they do lots of wonderful work, and they also had an access arm called Cliff Care. But they were reluctant to get involved in something so enormous. And so the various people who were discussing on chat groups and online about what are we going to do, decided we would start a branch of the Australian Climbing Association Victoria. And at that time also Australian Climbing Association New South Wales. And there was talk of Australian Climbing Association for every state. So what we did, we formed a committee of 15 people and made me the president. I was only the president because everybody else took 3 steps back when it came to volunteering. And who's going to be? Oh, it's me. And I've now spent 6 years trying to give the presidency to somebody else without success. So that's kind of the origin story for ACAV.
If ACAV was created in 2019, why was there a need for Climbing Victoria? Why didn't ACAV be the one to have discussions with Parks Victoria, and why are you not part of it now?
ACAV is not part of discussions with Parks Victoria and is not part of the Climbing Victoria collective, because in order to do so, speech would have to be controlled. You're not allowed to say certain things. There were memorandums of understanding which had to be signed to become part of that group. In fact, I understand it's even gone as far now with Climbing Victoria that they have had to sign a non-disclosure agreement because they're getting involved in detailed discussions of finding artifacts. And yeah, you can understand that, but if a representative group, Climbing Victoria, has to sign a non-disclosure agreement, that's highly questionable. 6 years ago, Parks Victoria, at one of the meetings we had, leaned across the table and said, Mike, can we have a joint media agreement? That's the same thing. It's Parks Victoria wanting to control the message. And the whole point of having a climbing representative group is to stand up for an alternative agenda. So the ACAV style did not fit in with a Climbing Victoria group. And it's made up of 6 or more organisations, many of which came into existence for the reason of the bands. There's various groups that have arisen to form Climbing Victoria, but if they're not able to address the key issues of why the bans have occurred and oppose the narrative of that, then I see them as illegitimate, really. I don't think Climbing Victoria can speak for anybody, really. I don't propose to speak for anybody either. I'm just representing a small membership in ACAV and the opinions of the committee of ACAV, which is we don't think these bans should be in place. We don't want to discuss the details of how we're going to be banned, which is what Climbing Victoria is doing. There shouldn't be any bans at all. There should be careful protection of any specific areas that need it. And that really is in the hands of the climbers. You know as well as I do that climbers know these locations better than anybody, better than Parks Victoria, better than anybody who ever visits these sites. We're the ideal guardians of the place.
You've been fighting for climbing access for years. What's kept you motivated?
What's kept me motivated is other climbers. ACAV has been beaten around a lot, received a lot of criticism, and several times I've attempted to step away from it because I think this has taken several years. It's taken 6 years so far, and it might take a few more years, who knows. And personally, I'm quite happy with the status quo. I've got no reason to be told I'm allowed to climb in the Grampians or the Arapiles. I'm not asking for permission. So it's not, there's no reason why I should fight so hard. But if I step away from lobbying, I get lots of calls and messages from good friends telling me to carry on. But they can't say anything because of various reasons in their own lives, but they just want me to carry on.
Do you believe climbers have done any damage?
No. I don't believe climbers have done any damage. There's always an impact from any recreational activity. So everything we do in this life has got some kind of footprint or impact. And the harm by climbers is minuscule. It was blown out of all proportion in 2019 by a very aggressive Parks Victoria management group. This was done deliberately. It was a political hit job in 2019. I haven't got the receipts, but I know where they are. We were deliberately removed from the Grampians. I strongly believe that was to make way for the Peaks Trail and to form an offset for the Grampians Peaks Trail. I believe that deals were done. This is information from insiders. This is joining dots. The Grampians Peaks Trail was quite a major civil works, particularly in the southern part of the Grampians. And cutting a trail through bushland, through an area that is known to have rock art and Aboriginal interest, is a difficult thing to do, to get agreement from all the necessary parties. And Parks Victoria achieved all the necessary sign-offs by various means. But one of them, I believe, was, how about if we get rid of the climbers? The documentation that would support that anti-climbing agenda is sitting on someone's desk in Deaker, ready for delivery to David Limbrick MP. I don't know how heavily redacted it will be when we eventually get it. It was the subject of a documents motion in the upper house in Victoria in November 2024, and those documents are supposed to be delivered within a month or two. And they're still being held onto because the release of those documents would reveal the extent of the anti-climber agenda to enable the Peaks Trail to be constructed.
From a political standpoint, is there any particular party that you believe will support bringing back the climbing?
My political party is the Climbing Party. I don't care which party is doing it. Whichever party is banning climbing, I want them out. So Labour and the Greens, sorry, you've lost me. People can vote on whatever issues they like, and you can consider yourself to be left-wing, right-wing, authoritarian, libertarian. There's three-dimensional models you can look at to see all that, but it's relatively simple for me. The opposition, whoever they are, will assist us in getting climbing back. Labour and the Greens will only do it kicking and screaming.
Do you think this is a winnable fight?
I think it is a winnable fight. I think we are winning. I think we're going to win a lot more comprehensively in the future. The fact that Arapiles was not banned is a major win. And that is down to a much larger group of people opposing it, not just one side of climbing and not just climbers. So many people all around the country, around the world, were outraged that you could ban Arapiles or 60% of Arapiles. That was just too much. It's too close a focal point. The Grampians is much more diffuse and difficult to pin down to a single entity and image. But Arapiles, it was the crag they couldn't ban. Now, if you look at Arapiles from across the plains, it looks like a kind of broken version of Ayers Rock Uluru. And that's banned. So it's all about narratives, really. Is one sacred and not the other? Is Arapiles not sacred enough? None of it really makes any sense because these places are natural features that have been, these rocks are about 300 million years old. Humans are just the fleas on the dog. They're not really very important at all. The rocks will remain long after we'd stopped squabbling about them. But Arapiles, they couldn't ban it. They tried, and they hit us with the same justification as was successful in the Grampians. But we said no. We collectively said no.
Under the legislation, is it actually legal for them to ban climbing?
The legislation of climbing bans has been a thorny issue over the journey of the last 6 or 7 years. Is it legal to ban climbing? At the moment, Parks Victoria has thrown a legal set-aside across the whole of the national park in the Grampians. It's a 1,600 square kilometre zone that has a legal set-aside upon it. And I believe that's inappropriate use of the legislation. A set-aside determination is something that's used to protect a specific small zone, such as an area of rare plants, or an Aboriginal art site, or a wallaby habitat, or something like that. You ring fence a little place and say, look, we don't want anybody going here in the national park because we're trying to breed potoroos or something like that. But what Parks Victoria did to facilitate the climbing bans was to say, no, the whole 1,600 square kilometres, 40 kilometres by 40 kilometre patch of land, no one can go in there. It's all banned. Now you can go back in to these designated cliffs. So that's how they achieved the designated cliffs legal overlay. And I contend that that's not legal under the National Parks Act and several other pieces of legislation. And I've had lots of toing and froing with Parks Victoria about that, and I know that Climbing Victoria has been doing similar, because it's outrageous. And they may apply the same to other national parks or state parks in the future. Arapiles, that's how they would achieve a designated cliffs only approach at Arapiles, which they tried to do in November 2024 and failed.
Can you tell us about the whole camera debacle?
In 2023, Parks Victoria took it upon themselves to put some hidden cameras in the Grampians. The type of cameras that are typically used by scientists to monitor animals in the bush. Except the animals that they were monitoring this time were the lesser spotted climber, going into the wrong places in the national park. And what's been created in the Victoria range of the national park are vast zones which are called cultural values zones. And what they're saying is these large zones, which encompass most of the Victoria range, which is home to a lot of the best rock climbing, all of those famous crags like Newline and Eureka, they are all sitting now within Indigenous exclusion zones, much like you have in the Northern Territory. This is a Victorian national park, so a national park is a set-aside place for the public, except it's not anymore. So it calls into question the whole national park system, and it brings up all that sensitivity over what we're doing for land rights, and that's why this matter gets controversial. And I'm focusing purely on how climbing can exist anywhere, any rock in Australia. How can climbing exist on any rock in Australia if rocks are deemed to be mostly sacred, which is what's been happening in Western Victoria? Rock climbing has gone, bushwalking has gone, rocky national parks are out of bounds. What is it? Is it just rocks, or is it everywhere? It calls into question anybody who does any recreational activity outside of the cities. If you want to be outside the cities enjoying the great outdoors in Australia, you need to be concerned about this. So cameras first appeared in the Grampians, I think it was in 2023, could have been 2022. And I don't know how that came about, whether it was a policy from the then CEO downwards. Was it agreed that we need to monitor these exclusion zones in the Grampians? Or was it more lowly employees further down the chain of authority in Parks Victoria? But cameras appeared, and they had Parks Victoria written on them. And they were hidden high in trees, and they were at the trailheads where climbers would go. So if you park on the road and you think the cliff's up there, half an hour's walk away, I'm going to walk up to that cliff, you would be spotted by a trail camera. That was discovered when somebody was fined for going into a cliff in the Grampians. They were going to a cliff that was in one of these exclusion zones, and it was technically against the law as it stands at the time. So the person was acting against the legal instrument that Parks Victoria has put in place. They were fined on the basis that they were caught on camera leaving their car and walking into the bush. So they weren't fined for climbing, there was a fine specifically for walking into the bush. And I was involved in seeking to defend that person. And ultimately that person decided to pay the fine because it would have been too troublesome and harmful to their career, life, reputation, friendship groups, whatever. They didn't want it to be known for going climbing in the wrong place. Or not going climbing, walking into the bush from the road, meters from the road, in the wrong place. So soon after that, there was a big fuss about that, and it was all in the media and it went around the world. And that climbers were being targeted in the Grampians for walking in the wrong place. I think the cameras went away for a while after that because I think Parks Victoria realised they may have overstepped the mark in their authority to manage the space. But later on in 2024, a camera was found in the Victoria Range at the trailhead, a different place to where the original person was caught. And somebody spotted it, a bushwalker spotted it and said, "What's that?" And the word got out in the climbing world, and there was all sorts of chat groups. And the word got out that, "Oh, there's another camera, it's been found." And photos appeared on these groups. And I put those photos on the ACAV Facebook page to say, the cameras are back. Again, it went around the world. There were lots of international press, local press. At that point, we were getting something like 60,000 views on our page. It's a huge attention. Incidentally, we do get normally on most posts about 10,000 views. So it's widely read. It's a public page and it's completely transparent. Someone sends me something, I put it up. Send me an interesting thing about climbing access in Victoria, it goes on the page. I don't care. If there's anything that's unhelpful, I probably won't put it up. But most things are just factual. This is a story that's happening. It's connected with climbing in some way. It goes up on the page. So I put these up. So that was in July of 2024 that incident happened, and I put a post up on Facebook. For some reason, a year later, I was accused of stealing the camera. This is kind of odd because being arrested for a Facebook post is not really what you expect. But the circumstances are very interesting. In between the camera story going up and the complaint being made against me, the whole Arapiles thing happened. And the board and the CEO of Parks Victoria all cleared out and a new lot came in. So make no mistake, that Arapiles failure to ban was a major event politically. It changed the whole narrative. If the Environment Minister goes to Natimak, it's top of his agenda today. That's the biggest threat to his portfolio, which includes a lot of things. So climbing was briefly the hottest news story out there, banning Arapiles. And so subsequently we put in a documents motion because it was hot news politically. I fed the story to David Limbrick of the Libertarians. He asked on the floor of Parliament, can we have all the documents relating to the Grampians, Peaks Trail, climbing at Arapiles, etc.? And days later, the Parks Victoria CEO is gone. Soon after, the board all get replaced, half the board get replaced. This is a serious event because Parks Victoria is busted. They have gone after climbing completely out of order. And so a new CEO comes in. We had a temporary CEO for a while, like a caretaker guy, and then eventually we got the new CEO in, I think it was about April or May of 2025. And so you wouldn't expect the camera thing to be still hot by then, because they're being a little bit cautious maybe about climbing bans, having attracted the ire of the minister and likely the premier as well. No doubt that politicians at the highest levels in Victoria are aware of the climbing ban situation and the fragile situation that Parks Victoria found themselves in and still find themselves in. So I was very surprised that a complaint was made about me in July 2025 that I'd stolen a camera. I don't know how that came about, but this complaint was made against me, and the police took a long time to get in touch with me about this, because I think the complaint was made locally in the Grampians, and it eventually got to my local police station here in Melbourne, and I was asked to attend the police station for questioning. And being an upstanding citizen who's never had any trouble at all with the law, you know, parking, speeding, nothing. I go to the police station and I'm arrested, treated like a criminal, fingerprinted, held for a few hours, had my possessions taken off me on suspicion of theft of a camera. And it was quite amusing in some ways, because I knew I was in Melbourne at the time and I could prove it. So I answered all their questions, the same questions over and over again, and it was like a TV show. I think they'd seen a few too many TV shows. And they asked me some funny questions, one of which was that I pushed across a photograph which was alleged to be me on the camera, and it was the back of somebody's head. And the photograph that was alleged to be me, there was a guy with dark hair. He was facing away from the camera, and on the right shoulder of the person in the photograph was a triangular badge that, if you zoomed in, you could pretty much make out Parks Victoria. And that was alleged to be me. And I knew I was in Melbourne and I could prove it. This police incident caused me to have briefly a police record. It's affected my employment circumstances. It's affected my finances, therefore. It's affected my good name. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a vexatious allegation by Parks Victoria against me, and it looks highly political, because it was made in the heat of the Arapiles fallout that Parks Victoria has made a big mistake. They've tried to ban the home of Australian climbing, the cradle of rock climbing in all of the Southern Hemisphere. And the public said no. And I'm still lobbying for climbing, and it looks very much like I'm being targeted. And the charges were dropped in February, a few weeks ago. Obviously because I had no evidence, because I was in Melbourne.
Last year you met with Lee, the new CEO of Parks Victoria. Can you tell us how you feel about that meeting now?
When I met with Lee, the CEO of Parks Victoria, when he was appointed in, I think it was in May of 2025, we had a frank conversation. It was very friendly, and I understood that he was coming in as a reformer. He was going to be a new broom, bringing a more positive approach with climbers so that we haven't got this horrible antagonistic situation going on where climbers are the bad guys and they need to be shut out and controlled. And I did understand that he was going to be a positive force in that regard. So I'm surprised really that, what are we, about 9 months, 10 months after that meeting, that the Grampians bans are still in place. I'm surprised that I was, in that interim period, falsely accused by Parks Victoria of stealing a camera. I'm surprised that there haven't been better solutions to all of the climbing debacle that's happened really with Arapiles and the Grampians. I'm surprised we're still following the narratives that were put in place by the previous administration under the previous CEO. So it is odd that the new broom is not really sweeping clean yet. We're still struggling with that. And I've got a formal complaint in with Parks Victoria, obviously because I've been wronged severely and it's had an impact on my life. The climbing bans remain. I've not had any satisfaction from Parks Victoria. And obviously further news stories are going to result from this because we have some very friendly media towards our campaign to restore climbing, and people are outraged at what's happened. It just calls into question the how well are our parks being managed if this sort of thing is happening? Are we really doing this right, or should we be zooming out here and looking at the bigger picture and thinking we should be encouraging healthy outdoor recreation? We shouldn't be putting cameras up to catch people doing things in the bush. That's not the society we want to live in.
What do you think the future of climbing in this state should look like?
In an environment where people are collaborative, which is what we had up until 2019, climbers used to find things, Aboriginal art, artifacts, rare animals, plants, and they would report them because climbers are pretty keen on all that stuff because we're the people that are out there exploring these places, enjoying these places, feeling at home and feeling in your spiritual place in these locations. So you find something, you go, that's really cool, and you report it to Parks Victoria or whichever authority would be interested, universities or land councils or anybody, and say, look, I found this thing, get out there and take a look at it. It needs to be looked after. That's a completely opposite of what's happening now. If anybody was to find something now, and climbers are climbing all over the place, as they always were, to a lesser extent in the Grampians, but still they're going back. If you find something now, what are you going to do? Are you going to say, look, I found this really important thing? You know that that place is going to be shut down. So you're not going to report it. So we've just lost 10,000 custodians, guardians, positive forces who would be doing good things out there. And we've turned them into secret operatives wearing hoodies and dodging cameras. You know, that's nobody wants it that way. So the future, what does it look like? We need to wind all that back and take climbing off the naughty list and put it back on these are good guys doing good things. Then they're not a bunch of punks out with spray cans. They're stopping the punks with spray cans.
What's your take on blanket bans?
The big issue with the bans is that they are blanket bans. If any important artifacts or environmental locations are found at cliffs around the world, a very distinct ring-fenced area is established, and the climbers avoid that and respect that, and if it's something interesting, they enjoy that. They walk past it and they go, that's really cool. But here we ban the whole cliff, or even half the national park, or 3/4 of the national park. We never needed to do blanket bans, and that's the problem. We need to carefully look into what really needs to be protected.
You've been lobbying on Facebook and social media about Summerday Valley. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It's the most egregious example of climbing ban is Summerday Valley. For anyone who doesn't know it, Summerday Valley is at Hollow Mountain in the northern Grampians, and it's as pleasant and beautiful as the name suggests, Summerday Valley. It's there where you go on a summer day to relax and climb a few rocks. It's 5 minutes from the car park. It's a beautiful little place. You can climb grade 5 there, the easiest grades out there. You can climb grade 29 there. There's been lots of work done by climbers over the past 50 years to make sure the footpaths are all beautifully aligned. There's little retaining walls that have been built by volunteer groups, all with the assistance of Parks Victoria. It is paradise. It is a gorgeous place. If you want to climb there at the moment, because it was in the first tranche of bans in 2019, if you want to climb there at the moment, you can pay a climbing instructing company, as long as they're licensed, to take you climbing there with yourself and a group, but only on certain little patches that are marked out on maps with coloured lines, and you can climb this little bit, which includes, incidentally, funnily enough, the climb Soweto, which I said earlier was the first climb I ever did in Australia. That's in one of the tiny patches that climbing instructors are allowed to take you on. And that climbing instructor has to pay, I think it's about $700 for a license to do this. And that license is essentially a permit to harm. So any stone artifacts that might be harmed, which you can't do anyway, in Summerday Valley, any stone artifacts that are touched by a hand or a rubber climbing shoe would be harmed. So you're allowed to do that if you pay $700 for the permit to harm. Now that mechanism, it shows in the documentation that you pay less money for a permit to take away the artifacts and sell them. You pay less money to do quarrying and dig up the entire environment. Legislation that's used for mining has been applied to climbers. So that's the worst example of the climbing ban. To ask people to pay to go rock climbing would destroy the activity, and it has destroyed the activity, because at Summerday Valley, you go in there any time now, you're allowed to walk into there and walk over the rock chips, but you're not allowed to climb the rocks. It was an attempt as a pilot project to monetize climbing, and it didn't work.
When you hear about an area that is banned due to cultural significance, how do you feel about that when you have a connection to the land too?
How can I put this? Climbing has a culture. It's not just a sport or an activity, it's got a whole culture. It's really a subculture of people, and you'll find in the Grampians and Arapiles region large numbers of people who would identify as climbers first and foremost. If you could put it on your passport as occupation, you would. That's how you feel when you're a climber and you've been doing it a long time, and a lot of your friendships and experiences are connected to it, and it becomes connected to place, and that place can't be replicated. It's just, oh, go climb another rock. You can't just say, well, you can't go to this place, go to this other one, or go to the climbing gym. It doesn't work. So climbing culture includes a culture of exploration. Climbers have always explored new cliffs or new climbs up particular cliffs. Now, under the present arrangements with Parks Victoria and the Grampians, there's no way that you can go climbing on a cliff that no one's ever climbed on before. It's completely killed the concept of exploration, which is central to the culture of climbing. And there are many climbers who, that's what they do. They just go looking for new climbs to do. That's what they're driven to do. It's like a public service, a community service. They love to climb new climbs and then tell other people about them, and they go and enjoy them, and it becomes a collective enjoyment of nature, physical movement, problem solving, all the wonderful things that climbing gives you, and that feeling of connection to all the other climbers that came before you and will continue to climb in the future. You've become part of that chain of people climbing the rocks. To people that don't climb, that doesn't make any sense. To people that do climb, that's what we do. And Parks Victoria's designated climbing approach to the Grampians, saying, these are the 10 cliffs you're allowed to climb at, absolutely kills it. It just kills climbing. And it's also a beautiful way to get into monetizing climbing. We now know where you're climbing. We've got it all ticked off again, right? Now, what climb would you like to do today? I can book you in for an ascent of Tiptoe Ridge at 4 o'clock, and that'll cost you $49.95. They'd love to see it regulated. Have you got your license? Are you qualified to climb a 15? Have you got your 14 certificate? Have you got insurance? Have you got a test and tag on your harness? That's all down the pipeline if we don't stand up for the simple act of climbing rocks without government involvement.
How do you think we can work our way back to the way things were in the Grampians?
We need a new Grampians Management Plan. The management plan that was introduced in 2022 for the Grampians includes that legal directive that the whole park is banned except for these cliffs. And that's got to go.